In my quest to leave a mark on the culture and make hip hop proud, I'd like to welcome you all to another episode of The Essence. I am your host, KB Tyndall, and this episode of The Essence is presented by Tent TV and powered by Validated Magazine. Today, I have a New York spitter that is a pure MC. He likes to talk about topics in his music that most artists won't even indulge in. He's a proud Latino that is forward-thinking and always pushing the envelope when it comes to the art form. He's literally got about 2 decades in the game and he shows no signs of slowing down. Right now, he has 2 projects out that he released this year. We're going to get into all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of The Essence, Emilio Rojas.
What up, man? Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for tapping in with me. Thank you, man. Let's jump right into it, man. I want to go back, to your early days. Were you born in Rochester, New York, or you just grew up in Rochester? You were born.
I was born in Rochester. Yep.
Okay. What kind of memories do you have of growing up in Rochester, man? How did that town mold you?
So Rochester is Rochester is a place where there's a lot of talent and there wasn't a lot of like community to like nurture it, So you got cats like me, you got cats like Ito, 38 Spesh, Green Lantern, my boy Hassan Mackey. We were all, my boy Nickel Fields, like we were all coming up, my boy Viciani, like we were all coming up in the city and like, we had like our little things cracking, but it kind of just would only bubble so much and it would just stop, So we just like, as far as like memories, it was just a constant grind, like trying to get people to pay attention to us, trying to get that to translate into something a little bit bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I did some research on you, man. I scoured the internet, watched a few interviews. So if I say anything that's wrong, because you know how the internet could be, please correct me and let me know if the information is not correct.
I got you.
So you attended the Harley School, and that's like a college preparatory school?
Yeah, I was there like on an academic scholarship.
Academics.
You're the first person who's ever asked me for that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How did that shape your young mind? Like what was some of the curriculum and things that you did back then, and how did that shape you?
So I mean, it was an advanced academic program, So like I was in like a lot of AP and honors courses.
Okay.
It was weird. Like looking back, like I don't really think like in hindsight I took full advantage of the access that institution gave me to anything really. Like when you're a kid, you're kind of resentful. You're not with your friends. You're with a bunch of people that maybe you didn't really have a lot in common with. Because like I was growing up in a single parent household, and like a good majority of the students there like were pretty wealthy, and we weren't. So it was like. It was hard. Like not to say like I was like an outcast. I mean, people fucked with me and I fucked with people, but it just wasn't. I was a little bit more angry at the situation, I think, at the time than I was able to like really step outside and be like, yo, this is gonna give me access to this, this, and this, and I'm on an accelerated academic program that's gonna put me into like an advantageous situation. It didn't really dawn on me until later in life, that was like a program that could have been very, very helpful that I didn't quite take advantage of, And I regret it. I wish I did in hindsight.
Got you. When you graduated from there, what was the goal? Like, were you already knee deep in hip hop and already thinking about I want to be an artist, or was there something else that you wanted to do, another dream?
So we were going to like. We had this thing in Rochester called Full Circle Sundays. It was like a freestyle thing that like a DJ crew in Rochester used to host, a DJ crew by the name of Disco Lobos. Okay. They used to host with Hassan Mackey. And I came up kind of like watching people battle, like a different like battle. Like it started as like a breakdancing battle. There was this thing called the Ultimate Breakdown in Rochester where like all the breakdancers from New York and like the tri-state area would come like once a year, and it was a big breakdance battle that had like an MC component. So I remember like I saw Hassan battle one year, I saw my boy Spesh battle one year, and that was like when I was like writing a lot. So then when I took notice of the Full Circle Sundays, I started to like involve myself in the scene, and that was like end of high school. So I don't know if there were like any plans to like try to turn music into a career at that point.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if there were really any plans to try to turn music into a career. It was just kind of like happened.
Okay.
But you know, watching it and just participating, it felt like I had to do it, you know, like I really wanted to do it. I wanted to be a part of it because I always loved hip hop music, like since I was since I was a kid, you know?
Okay. All right.
So when I saw an opportunity for me to like get up there with other people who shared the love for the culture, like Hassan, and there was like, you know, cats like Mo and like my homeboy Luda, you know, like people that used to that frequent that open mic. I just started going every week and it just became a part of it, you know?
Got you. Got you. What was
Yeah.
actually your earliest memory of hip hop? Like when did you first hear a song or see something and you were like, damn, like I need to be a part of this in some way?
So it was either Ahmad back in the day. Remember that back in the
Yeah,
day when I was
yeah,
young? I'm
yeah,
not that
yeah.
shit. Or my older sister had a boyfriend who he bought the Ghetto Boys tape with
Okay.
my mom playing tricks on me and tape. That shows you how old I am, right?
Classic. Me
Tape.
too, bro.
Yeah. He had the tape for the Ghetto Boys with Mine's Playing Tricks on Me.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
also that same year he got that Cypress Hill album with the tree. Was it Black Sunday? Was that
I
Black
think it
Sunday?
might have been Black Sunday. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that
Okay.
was my exposure to hip hop was through those two things.
No doubt. No doubt. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this rap shit for a while, man.
Mhm.
The research says that you started off with the name Rax One
Oh God.
on
Yeah.
MySpace, like back on MySpace of all places,
The
right?
MySpace days.
Back in
Yeah.
like 2004, you became a part of a group called Focus. You started touring
Moonshine.
overseas early. How did like that come about? Because I know as an artist now and even back then to actually tour, you know, overseas when you weren't really that known or known at all, you know, for the most part. How did that happen for you? And did that kind of like open up your mind to like what the possibilities could be?
So I linked with my boy DJ Ease. Big
Mm.
shouts to Angelo, DJ Ease. I think he's a Red Bull champ. Like he's one of the best turntablists in the world, DJ
Okay,
Ease.
gotcha.
And he was already running around. He was running around with Afu Ra. Remember Afu Ra
Yep,
from the
yep,
Gangstar
yep.
Foundation?
Absolutely.
Yep. So he had already been to Europe once and he was like, yo, we got to go to Europe. You got to come to Germany.
Mm.
So we booked our own shows and we went, and that was a time where like the internet hadn't really like started to hit yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just by having like New York on a flyer somewhere, you would get like 50 to 100 hip hop heads that would show
Right.
up.
Yeah.
You know, so we went over to Germany. We went to like Stuttgart, Germany. We went to Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Hamburg, a bunch of different places overseas, and we just really we grinded it out and booked our own shows. And through the connections that he had from being on the road with Afu,
Okay.
we were able to book some shows over there. And then I linked up with my boy Max Robin, and we went on tour afterwards. Max works with you know, he's been a tour manager now. Like he's grown into like a pop and tour manager. He's like managed for like Freddie Gibbs and like Chance the Rapper and Asher and all those guys. But now but he, you know, I think I was his first tour overseas as well. And then we ended up in Australia with Wu-Tang and you know, yeah, it was a lot of DIY, like a lot of just us saying, yo, we want to be in these places. How do we get to this place?
Mm-hmm.
And we just, you know, made it happen, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's the best way, man. You just gotta put your best foot forward, man, and throw it on the wall and see what sticks. You know?
Yep, exactly. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Like it was a lot of stress because, you know, we didn't speak the language. We didn't have anybody advocating for us over there, but we went and did what we had to do, you know? It was fun.
Definitely. So around 2005 or so, you come to New York, the city of New York. You start taking things a lot more seriously in your career. What was that transition like for you? Was there you know, family to support you, somebody that held you down? I think I read that you stayed in an apartment that was illegally set up with a bunch of people.
Oh yeah, we definitely had
like
the shitty illegal apartment. So again, this is Angelo, DJ Ease. He hit me. He was like, "Yo, my roommate just moved out. You want to move to New York?" I was like, "Bet, let's go."
There you go.
So I just left like the next day. Literally, I just left. I sold all my shit, which wasn't much. Like I think I had like a keyboard, like an Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus, because I was trying to make beats.
Okay.
And I sold that. And then I sold like my entire CD collection, a bunch of sneakers, and I just left.
You invested in the dream early.
I mean, I didn't have much to invest. You know, I had no money. I had no job. I got down to New York. I had a couple $100s. I gave him rent for the month, and I was just grinding it out. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You invested early with nothing. You know what I mean? You took the last of what you had and you bet on yourself. You know, absolutely. So now we get to like 2008, going into 2010s. You link up with nobody, you know, none other than Green Lantern. You start putting out these mixtapes, The Natural, Recession Proof, Life Without Shame. That's where I actually first heard of you on the song Close to Me, which was my joint when that came out back in the days.
Oh, crazy, yeah.
Yeah, that was my shit. I had you on one of my mix CDs with that song and everything. Yeah, definitely.
That's funny.
Then you put out Phase 1 with M Phases, Breaking Point, No Shame, No Regrets, and of course, No Fucks Given in around 2013, I believe.
Yeah, that was with Camilo, right? I think.
I believe so. Yeah. So what was it like at you for that point in the industry? You know, you were on the come up, you're churning out these mixtapes, you're trying to get on, you're doing these shows here and there, kind of sustaining yourself. What was it like for you at that time, and what kind of jewels did you learn from the mixtape grind itself that you still carry with you today?
Well, so I mean, I think I'm still learning this the hard way, right? The biggest thing that like I learned, like looking back, is to not stop, right? Because we would get into these situations where we would generate tons of momentum, and then like I would have the conversation, like Wendy Goldstein would call from fucking Interscope, or somebody would call my phone,
right?
And they'd be like, "Yo, we want to offer you a deal, da 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 da," and then we just stop, and then the conversation would end,
right?
You know, because you lose all your momentum as soon as you take your foot off the gas. So, you know, looking back, like I think that had I like not waited for certain situations to materialize and just kept going regardless of what was going on in the background or behind the scenes, I think things probably would be a lot bigger. Like I think that's like my one thing looking back, like as an artist, that me and my team at the time really messed up. Like every time that we had like a major opportunity, like whether it was like an MMG reach out or like anything like that, it was always followed by us stopping and not wanting to do anything, or sitting on all the records that we had, or whatever the case was, waiting for the situation to materialize. And like I learned now, like it just doesn't make sense to hold on to things. It doesn't make sense to stop working regardless of what else is going on, because you're always going to create more opportunities if you continue to put out music, you know. Like
absolutely.
So that's what it was. And it was like a lot of like the energy in New York was crazy at the time. Again, it was a lot of that do it yourself energy. Like Angelo and I, we started throwing events at Galapagos in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called now. It's called something else now, but it's a big venue, and I think we were like one of the first people to host hip hop events at the space. And then, you know, I linked with like Pumpkinhead, rest in peace, and like a lot of like the Brooklyn Academy folks, and you know, like the Brooklyn like underground, Marco Polo, all those people, you know. And it
you in the trenches, man.
Yeah, we were grinding it out. Like we were grinding it out. You know, like they say certain artists, they tell the come up story, like, yo, so and so was grinding in New York, and I was in New York, and nobody ever saw that motherfucker.
Like I ain't never seen you.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, like we were working, we put a lot of work in, and
absolutely.
Yeah, we built a lot. We built a lot just because we wanted to, and we were excited about it, and we were just really passionate about what we did, and it telegraphed. And I think our own excitement about what we were doing made other people gravitate towards it.
Right. Now, I know you were influenced, of course, by Big Pun, Fat Joe. They were two of the most prevalent Latino MCs, you know, in the game early on. And you kind of showed that love on Creep with Me when you reiterated one of Pun's lines on your Breaking Point 2 project. Who else inspired you as an MC growing up? Like, who did you look at and say, damn, like, you know, that gave you the scrunch face when you heard their bars and you was like, oh, I gotta get to that level?
I think like Pharoah Monch, one of my favorites of all time,
Yeah.
From the Organized Confusion days all the way up till now. The Locks, heavy on the Locks, heavy on Styles and Jada.
Absolutely.
And Chic. I don't want to leave out Chic. Everybody leaves out Chic, but Chic's nice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Black Thought, Scarface. I like Scarface a lot. You know, 50. I like 50 a lot. 50. I think Get Rich or Die Trying, like that might be my favorite hip hop album of all time. Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah, they get you right. I talk about this to a lot of different people, and
Mhm.
the mania that was surrounded around that project was just
It's all you heard in the city.
yeah, that's all you heard in New York at the time. I don't think I've seen that happen again since 50. You know what I
Nope.
mean? Like,
It was weird. I was on Twitter today and I saw somebody post, they were like, yo, let's keep it real. 50 only had 2 to 3 years of popping and people act like he's a superstar. It's like, you were not fucking outside if that's all you're saying. Like, yo, that's all you heard in the whole city was 50 Cent for
for
like
real. His
an
mixtape
entire
was
summer.
insane, bro.
Yep.
Insane, man. He was just knocking them out left and right all the
Yep.
time. I worked at a record store at the time when that came out. And I just remember, all I could remember was these little white kids, man. They were coming in by the droves, man, to get this Get Rich or Die Trying project, man. You know what I mean? And then when I was coming back to New York, like that's all you heard. Every car, every truck, every Jeep, everybody was knocking 50. So that kind of mania hasn't been seen since then. Absolutely not.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. They not only were they knocking the 50, they were wearing the G Unit tank tops for a year. Them ugly ass fucking things. Yo, people were in like it was a whole thing. He influenced like that might be my favorite era of beats, like all the Jake One beats, the high tech beats, the Khalil beats, like all those the Dre beats, like those were so like that was the illest era of production. Yeah, that was hard.
Crazy.
50.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You've worked with a slew of artists, man. You know, Nori, Joel Ortiz, Joe Budden, King Crooked, Davies, Nems, Demrick, Reverie, Green Lantern, Illmind. The list can go on and on and on, man. But the question is, who is the artist or the producer or a person in general that makes you step up your pen game the most when you're actually in the studio with them?
Oh, I was just thinking about this. You know who really raps and it's annoying is Mickey Facts.
I love Mickey.
When you do a record with Mickey, you gotta rap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta rap with Mickey. I did a record with Graph. I had to fucking rap. We did like a freestyle over Kendrick's High Power.
Okay.
I had to rap on that. I did a record with Spesh, but like, oh no. I did a record that Spesh hopped on afterwards, and I was just so mad because, you know, like I kind of phoned it in. And then Spesh just you know, I'm just like, damn, bro. I just be feeling like fuck, like I didn't get the chance to come after you the way I should have because I didn't know. Yeah.
Have you ever changed a verse for somebody, or as an MC you're like, nah, I just gotta let what I wrote run? You know what I mean?
I just let it rock. I mean, at the end of the day, like my fans are gonna fuck with what I do, you know?
Right.
So, you know, like, and my mentality is hopefully I'll get them on the next one. You know, because I'm a little competitive, but not to the like I remember the what was the beef with Cannabis and LL, right? Didn't start beefing because LL rewrote his verse.
They said L rewrote his verse, and it came from the microphone on his arm, and Cannabis was like, I want to get a mic like that on my arm, and L was like, nah, you got to get your own tattoo. So it was a combination of those kind of things that started that. Yeah.
I just never got over that. I'm like, man, that's just bad rapper etiquette. Like you put your verse down, it is what it is. Like you gotta wait.
Absolutely. Wait to catch him on the next one. Yeah, definitely.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely. In 2011, a journalist, Sarah Armagon from the New York Daily News, did a very small, but in my opinion, was a relevant piece on you. She talked about politically charged lyrics. At the time, you had a single out called Right to Say about a Mexican immigrant who was accused at every level, sexually, physically, verbally, by an immigrant agent. Now, I love the fact that you touch on topics like that. It kind of reminds me of, you know, classic like Public Enemy that always talked about shit that nobody else wanted to even touch. What made you start tackling topics like that people don't want to acknowledge in your music, and how has that played a part in your career?
I mean, it's something I personally care about. You know, it was never a conscious decision. Like, all right, I'm going to go tackle these topics. Like, I see somebody get mistreated on a human level. I just find a lot of problems with that. You know, and like, even now, like if you look at like my bookshelf back there, or wherever, it's like, it's full of political science and current events books. And, you know, like, I have a lot of contempt for the establishment and the way that minority groups, whether it's like a racial or ethnic minority, or like a, you know, somebody who's been marginalized because of their economic status. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of anger for the way that people are treated when they're mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's something that I'm just very passionate about personally. Like, I don't fuck with the billionaires. I don't worship the wealthy.
Right.
I
Right.
don't, you know, like, I can't get behind a lot of the things that, you know, that culturally we look past because we want to protect the status quo or have like this little bit of creature comfort that we have. Like, I just, you know, like for me, like it's hard for me to reconcile myself with those things when they're happening in the world. And I remember like when that Right to Stay record was written, it was like at a time where like I don't remember specifically, but like there was a lot of stuff in the news cycle about like immigration and laws being changed. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I like being a Latino also, it's like nobody really tells our story, you know. Like I think the type of Latin artists that we have in the hip hop space and in the music space in general, they tend to be like hypersexualized or super gangster, and that's it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like you either got to shake ass, talk about shaking ass, talk about selling drugs, or talk about being a kingpin.
Right.
And I felt like, you know, there's a lot more to our culture than that, actually. Like, and the fact that we are only talking about, you know, selling drugs or being a kingpin, that's like a direct result of like the US's war on drugs anyways. Like we were forced into those positions, right? So like I wanted to talk about it. And like you have these people that are basically mass migrating as refugees from South America, largely because, you know, our foreign policy destabilized the entire continent to the point where their countries were unlivable in
Mm-hmm.
the first place. So it's like, of course I'm going to talk about that shit.
Right.
You
Right.
know, like nobody else is talking about it, and it's not sexy. It's not like, you know, that's something that's going to make, you know, like Drake fucking retweet like, oh, this shit is crazy, but like that shit is real. You
Right.
know, like the
Right.
shit about Right to Stay, like when I wrote Right to Stay, I researched it first. It's
Mm-hmm.
like an amalgamation of things that I read about that actually happened, and I just condensed them all into one story. And I was
Okay.
very deliberate to not like make a political statement like
Mm-hmm.
overtly. I just wanted to tell a story and have people hear the record and arrive at their own conclusion about what was going on and what was happening in the world. Because the reality is there are people that come to this country who are treated like that every day
All the
by
time.
people who abuse their power.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like it. I just felt compelled to talk about it, you know. And I still feel compelled to talk about those things.
Absolutely. I think that inspires people on a different level. You know,
Yeah.
I think it hits a deeper core than, you know, bowing down to the wealthy and all that other shit that's out there. You know, so
Mhm.
that's definitely a way to reach people and impact their heart, you know, and allow them to see that there's a lot of other things out there that need to be talked about, you know, a lot of things that need to be
Yep.
changed, you know.
I
Absolutely.
agree. Yeah.
Absolutely. You taught like we talked earlier. You taught a lot overseas. You know, Paris, Madrid, Venezuela, Grenada, Switzerland, Australia, just to name a few. Um,
Mhm.
do you prefer touring out of the country or in the U.S.?
I like the US. I mean,
Okay,
I
why the
speak
U.S.
English
over?
really well.
Say that again.
I speak English really well, you know. It's
Right.
you know, it makes me feel a little more comfortable. Plus, you know, like people that I know are only a flight away, like a shorter flight.
Right.
Um, and a lot of times, like again, when we were overseas, it was like before social media,
Mhm.
before the internet really had taken off. Like people hadn't even, I mean, Napster was a thing, but there was no streaming platforms. Like I'm
Right.
old, I'm aging myself right now, but the it was different, man. It was just fucking different, and it's stressful. And like my overseas touring experiences were so early in my career that I wasn't like
Okay.
stable,
Right.
you know. And the thing is, like, you're in another country, like you're in Paris, for example, or you're in Madrid, Spain, right? And you don't really have the time to go explore and experience the culture because you're kind of just in and out of a place for a day,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
know. And it's like those are places where like you really want to, like, I get serious FOMO, you know, like damn, like I'm in fucking Paris. I can't go see the catacombs today. Like, what you mean I gotta get on the road? So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like those are experiences that I felt like I missed out on. And we were fucking very hand to mouth with the tour budget because we weren't that established in our finances or in our careers at the time. We were just making shit happen,
Right. 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 Right.
you know? So it makes it stressful. Like that financial stress makes traveling with somebody very
Yeah,
stressful.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So started off in Brooklyn, ended up in Washington Heights. Now you're in Cali. You're sort of like a transplant like myself. I'm originally from Queens. I came out to Cali in 2015 and just decided to stay, man. I loved it. And I was like, this is where the switch is. You know, what made you come out west?
It was weird. So I was traveling out west because I was just like, there was like some writing opportunities.
Okay.
And when I was on the flight, this is 2016, I think. When I was on the flight, I got a blood clot in my calf.
Ooh.
So like that shit could kill you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I couldn't travel for 3 months. So I had to like crash at my boy's house in LA for 3 months. Big shots to Nickel Fields for holding me down because that was fucking love. So he let me crash at his spot for 3 months because I couldn't get back on a plane because the air pressure could have caused an embolism. Like the fucking blood clot could have moved and exploded in my brain or some shit and killed me.
Right.
So by the end of that 3 month period, I had just had so many things going on here. It just made sense to just up and leave because New York, you know, there's valleys and peaks, right? With different places. And I was in a bad management situation at the time, like a real dysfunctional management situation. So it just made a lot of sense for me to just start fresh with people that I cared about instead of feeling like I was being neglected and abused by my team back home. So
I got you.
I was like, all right, I'm out. Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So you got two projects out this year. Is it Los Cuatro or is it Los Four?
Los Cuatro, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. With Doman and Coyotes. Rumors off of that joint is my shit. That's a fire track. Absolutely. And then you also got Breaking Point 2 out right now. Tell me a little bit about the creative process and the thought behind both of those projects.
So Breaking Point 2, whenever I would talk to my fans or like my audience, a record they always brought up like as being like one of the records that made them really fuck with me was Breaking Point. And it was like that record happened at a time in my life where I was just like pretty frustrated.
Okay.
And I started like in the middle of COVID, I started to feel frustrated again because like, you know, you had tour opportunities getting taken off the table because travel bans and just a lot of different things were just happening where I was just like, man, like this shit is out of my control. I'm pretty stressed out. Like, so it felt appropriate to revisit that and seeing that my fans really fuck with it. I was like, man, why didn't I really like lean into that more from a branding perspective? Like, this is something that's authentic to me, like being frustrated and kind of being stressed out because I'm like a high stress individual. And then, you know, which maybe I shouldn't admit that, but like I have a lot of anxiety about everything, you know? So I was just at a point where I was just like, man, what the fuck? So I just decided to channel it and kind of in the process of that, I was like, well, maybe I could build this into something that could be like, what are those things called? I'm blanking. It could be like a recurring theme throughout my
recurring theme. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's the word? I'm blanking on the word.
I'm blanking on it too. Recurring theme.
It's gonna come to me as soon as we hang up.
I know, right?
Fuck. Yeah, but regardless, like, you know, I'm like, man, a lot of artists, they do the part ones, the part twos, the part threes. It's like, I never had that in my career, and I have like a pretty extensive catalog of music. I should have done that.
Series?
Yeah, a series.
Okay.
Exactly, a series. So I was like, man, I should turn this into a series. So that's what I did. And then Los Cuatro, like Doman and the Coyotes and myself, we had just all like, those are the homies, and we make some dope records when we work together. So we're just like, let's just fucking put the records together and just put it out just to keep the music coming out, even if we're like in between like label deals or tours or whatever. Like, let's just, you know, give people something to be a part of. Like, oh, these people fuck with each other. And I think it's cool, like, that we're all Latinos from different areas too. Like, I'm from the East Coast, Doman's from, you know, Texas, and Coyotes are from out here in LA. That, you know, I think it's cool that we all just like kind of formed up.
Yeah, that's,
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Now I know in some cases you're not a huge fan of the label and distribution system of the industry. You know, there was a time when you had some things going on with Violator, rest in peace, Chris Lighty.
Rest in peace, Chris.
Empire. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. Rose from MMG had reached out at one point. Why do you feel those situations didn't pop? you know, and what is your current status as an artist? Do you have an independent label home? Are you just fully independent on your own? What's going on in that area?
So I'm fully independent, self-funded too. So like I'm, making everything work on my own. As far as those situations not popping, I think ultimately the responsibility is mine, right? Like
Okay.
we didn't, I'm gonna stop saying we. I was not, I think it's a combination of me not being emotionally ready for things and kind of the universe knowing that, right?
Okay.
And then I also just didn't have my shit together.
Mhm.
So like when Ross reached out, I just didn't have my shit together.
Right.
I should have fucking made it a point to make sure I was around him and turning in records and getting records done. And, and I just, it was one of those things where it's like, well, he reached out, let's wait for this to pan out instead of me just activating.
Right.
And that's something I learned like in hindsight. And same with any of those situations, like you really have to know how to maneuver in those systems. And I think if you don't understand how the systems work, then you have to be prolific enough with your delivery of music and content to eventually fucking learn the system the right way, right? So if you don't understand, you got to have enough shit ready to go where eventually you're going to understand, right? And I just think I didn't. I wasn't meeting my potential like creatively. I wasn't creating as much as I could have.
Right.
From a brand perspective, I didn't have my branding together. I didn't have the right team around me. I didn't have proper people on my team. I was leaving a lot of the business to people who maybe had their own best interests in mind instead of my best interests in mind.
Right.
And instead of me being hands-on and realizing that early on, I just kind of was like hands off and just super trusting, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but in any business, like you need to take ownership. And I didn't take enough ownership of what was going on in my life at the time. And then my personal life, like, between like the stuff with Chris and, just other situations in my life, it was just, I just wasn't equipped to do what I needed to do. And I just didn't execute the way I should have, I mean, I'll take the full blame. That shit was all on me.
Right. How do you feel about the space that you're in today?
I feel like creatively I'm in a good space. One thing that I did cave a little bit to while I was in like the various distribution or label situations was like trying to play the industry game a little bit.
Okay.
Where I was like altering the type of content that I was delivering. And, while it might have sounded good, I don't feel like it was authentic to me on a human level.
Right.
Like what we talked about earlier, like I feel much more passionate about making statements with my music than just, making dance records or, making somebody feel good when they're getting ready to go out. You know what I mean? That's not an affront to them. Like that has a place and there's value for that as well. Like making people feel good is valuable, but I just don't think that's one of my strengths. I think one of my strengths is making people think.
Right.
And I shied away from that. I tried to play in a league that maybe wasn't really for me. You know what I mean? Instead of just doing me.
Okay.
And now that I'm free, I like rediscovered, I rekindled my passion for like the creative. Like I'm telling stories in my music. I've like, for example, I skateboarded my whole life and like I never made that a part of my branding because I thought like, oh, it was corny, but I skate good, like, so now I'm just like, man, fuck it. I'm in LA. I'm skating with all the homies every day anyways. I might as well share that every once in a while and incorporate that into what I'm doing because it's authentic. So now there's much more of an emphasis on me doing things that are just 100% authentically Emilio instead of me trying to please people or deliver what I think the label will open a budget for.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely feel you on that. I actually heard you on Bootleg Kevin. You were talking about, skating and how it helps your anxiety because it helps you focus, you know, and block out everything that's going on around you because you definitely don't want to bust your ass when you skate.
Exactly. You stop paying attention, you die.
Yeah, absolutely. So your Monday motivation series is pretty dope, and we know you drink your coffee black because you're not a bitch. We know the spiel. We know the spiel. What inspired you to want to do that? I mean, I know you always like to make people think, but what made you say, let me do a Monday motivation? Let me try to inspire people every week.
Because I needed to hold myself accountable. So I figured like like I said, right, like one of the things that has been my Achilles heel throughout my career is like me, right? So I figured if I put myself in a situation where I had to hold myself accountable publicly, it's not something that I could easily back out of, you know?
Gotcha.
So a lot of times, like when I, like, not even a lot of times, every single fucking time that I do one of those things, it's literally something that I was thinking about in regards to like applying it to my own life. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should share this.
Right. So you kind of, it's kind of like putting yourself on blast in reverse. Like, I'm talking about this, so I got to live it.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. So what's next for Emilio Rojas, man? What's on the horizon? What are you working on? Merch, anything that you got popping that you want people to know about?
So we got I mean, I got tons of merch on emiliorojas.com. And you know, like I said, this is fully self-funded, fully independent. So go grab some shit, whoever's watching this. Also, more importantly, I got a bunch of new music. I'm working on a project with my producer homies out of Miami, Playback. It's like, it's super fucking dope. We're about 60 to 70% done with a project that's kind of like Rage Against the Machine. So it's like, it's me, my homie Ricky from, he's in a band called Ice Nine Kills. My homie Ronnie, who's in a band called Mammoth. And then my boy Chris, who's like a super dope drummer. He was the drummer for like Good Charlotte, Jameson, all those people back in the day. And then my boy Alec, who's an incredible like producer and DJ. We've been working on this like kind of rap rock project, but it's not like Machine Gun Kelly emo. It's literally like, I'm gonna just be 100% honest. I love Rage Against the Machine, so I'm just like, man, I want to do exactly what Rage did. I don't even want to make it sound different. I'm just like, Rage hasn't dropped in 20 years, like, and there's a lot of new shit that's happened in the world. So like, let's just do what Rage would have done now, and that's what we did. And it's actually probably the music I'm most excited for, because I really got to fucking talk my shit, which I'm excited about. And the records, the energy of like the rock element just makes it feel like, I don't know, I feel like it adds extra emphasis to the political message, if that makes sense.
Right, that does make sense.
It reinforces the angst. You know?
No doubt.
So those are what we got cracking now. And I'm really excited. Like, I'm really excited. So
beautiful. Yo, Emilio, man, thank you so much, man, for taking your time out to join me on The Essence. This is also going to be on Validated Magazine. It's actually going to be transcribed for the mag, so I'll definitely hit you up when that drops. But yeah, man, keep making people think, bro. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah.
I think we kind of missing that in hip hop, man. You know what I mean? Everything is so microwave nowadays, man, and nobody's thinking, you know?
I couldn't agree more. Even the lyrical cats, and this is no shot, man, but everybody just kind of sticks in their lane and nobody's doing any thought-provoking shit. Like,
yeah, man.
You know, if you rapping for girls, you rapping for girls. If you rapping about drugs, it's cocaine every round. You know, it's just like this music is important, and it's always been important. And I think we lost sight of it because we got so focused on the metrics. And, you know?
Yeah, crazy, man. This is the 50th year of hip hop, man. And it's funny because, you know, the establishment now wants to be a part of it. You know what I mean? And years ago, I mean, and I'm a first generation hip hop baby, born in the Bronx, moved out to Queens. So I remember a lot of shit from back in the day when nobody even wanted to fucking touch this culture, you know? And now everybody wants to be a part of it. And I think artists and I think fans and just people in general need to realize that, like, they're only a part of it because they feel like they're getting something out of it, you know? And we need to constantly keep that in our mind, and we need to talk about it. You know, I mean, it is what it is. Not trying to stop anybody's bag or anything, but we need people that are going to say some shit that needs to be said, man. And I appreciate you for that, bro.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you for recognizing it. It means a lot, for real.
Absolutely. I'm gonna hit you up on the email, man. I need you to send me a couple of pictures, some high-res joints, so that we got them for the magazine. And like I said, when it drops, man, I'll definitely hit you up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the patience too. I'm so sorry.
Absolutely. No problem. And I know how it is, bro. I thank you for tapping in with me.
Thank you, G's. Have a good day, man.
Peace. No doubt. All right.